Hey, welcome to school. Yeah, I'm only like 4 minutes late. I have my coffee.
You have to get your energy pills.
So I hope you guys all have your coffee. So what are we doing today? Anybody?
Where were we last week?
No.
I
An
wasn't
email
here.
goes out, right? Because
I
you always
wasn't
email
here.
me
I
and go,
was
what are you
traveling.
doing? And I go, yeah, sorry, I forgot that, John.
What are you?
What are we doing today? This is really important.
I was traveling. I don't know where we left.
And I know that's why we have a great turnout, because of the subject matter, whatever that is.
It's because of you, Gary. That's right.
We're just,
Here's your
We don't-
dollar. Everyone
we
gets a
don't,
dollar.
right.
Doing
We
it
don't
for
care
you.
what the subject
You
matter
get a
is.
dollar, you get a dollar, and you get a dollar. We're gonna do two. We're gonna do seller disclosures.
Right.
We're gonna sneak in a little template suggestion. I wouldn't call it training, because I don't do that. Casey's in charge of that. I forgot about that. As soon as they teach you to do templates, you're in charge. You're welcome.
Okay.
Well, that's kind of the tech guy, right? And that's kind of it's a software thing. So yeah, cool. Mary's making notes like learn what the hell a template is. Your mom knows. I taught her. Speaking of templates, see the little link, I guess it is. Not really a button right up there that's now highlighted in green that says templates. Now it's not highlighted. Transactions is because I'm in my transactions. Hope this works like I thought it was gonna. Templates. You guys know all about templates, right? Maybe. Nah, okay, that's yeah. That was a
Maybe,
very helpful.
not really.
I do.
Rebecca does. So templates are files, I guess we'll call them. They're like transaction file. Well, templates are what templates are. Like everybody knows what a template is in general, right? So a template is something, some set of documents or some like a jig, something that's like ready to go, so you can do the same thing over and over and no problem, that kind of stuff. So I have too many is what I have. Wonder if that does that do that? Yeah. Is that any better? No, maybe. No, I can't see them. Never mind. So when I'm doing transactions, I bump into somewhere I'm using the same couple of forms all the time. So I'll have like a listing template, right? So I also have a trust listing template. There's probably 2 forms in it, maybe, because you can put templates on templates on templates. Just keep piling them on, and they won't duplicate. They'll just add the new different forms every time. So they're very cool, and you can write offers pretty fast with templates.
How do you get them in there? I looked up the template. There's 0.
How to do it? There's none in there. You didn't put them in. There.
That's what I asked.
Okay, let's do that, right?
How do you put them in?
Okay, so I'm in templates. So you got to go to templates. This is going to be like the down and dirty template thing. It's just, there's a million, do they? So to answer your question, right over there at the top left, is that your left? See where it says new? That's one way to do it right there. Push new and it goes new what? And you tell it new template, just like a new transaction. You get like a dialog box that says name of it, blah, 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 stuff like that. The other kind of cheater way, which involves a lot of deletion, is do a transaction. And you're looking at the transaction and it's like, so here's an entire completed transaction for a residential purchase. Just tell it, make a template. And it'll just save as template. And it goes in and takes all those forms and makes a template. And so that could be your residential transaction template. But then you got to go into that template, go to the cover sheet and blank it out, except for the stuff that you're going to use every time. Go into every form in there and take it out. You'll see every once in a while I'll pull something up, form will come up, and there will be a date from 2014 in there. I forgot to take it out. It's stuck in the template and it keeps showing up. The reason we went to templates today is I have you ever wondered like what goes into this residential transaction for disclosures? I have a residential disclosure template. So we'll just look at that today. And I have no idea what these forms look like. I can't remember if there's a cover sheet in there or anything, but let's find out. So what we want to talk about today is what disclosures show up, what are mandated, all that stuff in a residential transaction. As a listing agent, you have to know that to advise your seller on what to do. As a buyer's agent, you have to know that to know whether they shorted you. And I think one of the points I like to make, coffee pause, is that there's different requirements for the disclosure, some mandated, some not. Different sales have different disclosures. Trust sales, one thing, probate sales, something else. Bank-owned property foreclosure, another set of rules. But something I've always taught that I think is a good thing to remember is when you have a special transaction that doesn't need a certain disclosure, they're exempt from that disclosure, right? That's basically the terminology is unless exempt, seller has to do this and that and blah, blah, blah. So exempt doesn't mean prohibited. If your seller wanted to just over disclose, they could. If you're exempt from using the real estate transfer disclosure statement, to which a lot of exemptions apply, it doesn't mean you're forbidden from using it. So it just means you don't have to. Nobody can say, you didn't do that right. You didn't give me a TDS because you're exempt. But you could. They could. You see them every once in a while, especially like if you're not sure. That's the other axiom I want to throw out there is when in doubt, disclose. I don't care what it is. If you're wondering, like, should I say that thing about the thing? Yes. Every time. Yes. That one thing that you don't say anything about, they're going to find it. And they're going to ask you, like, did you guys know anything about that thing, about that one thing? It's like, well, yeah, kind of. We just didn't think it was a huge deal. All of a sudden, it turns out it's not a huge deal, but like it's on my mind. Can we talk about that? And why didn't you tell me when we started? The first thing is now you're a liar. No matter what you tell them after that is a lie. When in doubt, disclose. So I think it's paragraph 10, the RPA, and we have several purchase agreements, so we'll just focus on the residential purchase agreement. Paragraph 10 basically lines out everything you have to do as far as disclosures. It's like in this deal, the seller has to do this and that and this and that, unless they're exempt from that, and they might be exempt from this, but this is all the stuff that generally they have to do in a transaction, unless some other exemptions apply or something. So that's a great reference tool, I guess, for like, okay, what do I put in this deal? Now, the other thing is, because none of you guys own the company, it's not really on you. Who's it on?
Okay.
David.
I think Bob David. Yeah, it's almost like, yeah, like it's an entity. Dob, David, David. Yeah, sorry, more copies. So the broker's got the final, what's the word for responsibility, liability, all that stuff, and basically the final say. So when you get into a transaction with an office where they will tell you, we don't do agent visual inspection disclosures. It's the broker talking, theoretically, hopefully. Sometimes you'll find that somebody has decided in their infinite and completely, totally 3,000,000% misguided wisdom that the agent visual inspection disclosure is a bad form, like one of the top 3 greatest forms ever, because agents are legally required to do an inspection and write down their findings and disclose it to everybody in virtually every transaction there is. You're the only guys that don't get exemptions. It's almost never that you'll be selling something where you don't do an avid. You'll probably never be selling a residential property, 1 to 4 units, where you're not supposed to do your agent disclosure, agent visual inspection. And using that form, that's like the greatest form ever. And then if anybody wants to kind of bitch about the inspection that you did, it's like, hey, I've done all I can. I used the right form. I filled the whole thing out. I didn't leave any blanks that were in any way applicable. Like, what do you want from me? And the judge, we always talk about going to court. You're never going to go to court. The hell? Okay, promise. I'm not going to go to court. The judge is going to go, why, good job, Lucas. Sit down. In fact, come and sit by me. Here's a little hat. Do it right. Oh my God. And we have such great forms for doing it right. And that agent inspection, the visual inspection disclosure is how many pages? Anybody know? 3. What's the entire first page
A CYA.
All right, cover your assets. The whole thing talks about, hey, buyer, seller, everybody in this deal, this guy's just an agent. And if you're expecting a home inspection in the next 2 pages, you got the wrong guy. And he's not going to climb on the roof, and he's not going to put a camera down the sewer pipe. None of that's going to happen. He's going to walk through the house doing a diligent visual inspection. And I think and we'll look at that for him in a minute. And I think the best help I got with that over the years was a guy doing, what the hell is that guy's name? George, somebody was doing forms training one time and sales training and all that stuff. And he says, all you got to remember about the agent visual inspection, like, should I really be doing it? Should I take that door off and look behind there? Is the tool and tuxedo rule. If you need a tool or you're going to get your tuxedo or your formal dress dirty, don't do it. Don't climb up through that attic access. That ain't you. As soon as you step on the ladder, now you got a tool, you know. So it's a diligent visual inspection. That's it.
Does it say on there, Gary, what you're not allowed to do?
I
read it somewhere.
I don't know. It says there's stuff
You're
that
not
it says
gonna
there's
move
stuff that says
furniture,
I'm
you're
not
not
gonna
gonna-
do
yeah.
it,
Right.
whether I'm allowed to or not. It
Yeah.
just says I'm not gonna do it. Now I got a bad habit of looking under the sink everywhere I go. Every room has got a sink in it. I open that door. I'm thinking, okay, I just used a door handle. Is that really a tool? I don't know. And it doesn't have a latch. I opened it. I want to see that big wet moldy or
Yeah.
lack thereof under there. Now, I don't know if that's totally within my purview or not. I can't see through that door. You'd have to have x-ray eyes to get in trouble for not doing that. But I would have to confess, Your Honor, that I always do that. I always look there. And that's how I found out the hole went all the way into the neighbor's house. So good thing I looked, huh, Your Honor? All right. After all that buildup, let's look at that form. Look, there it is right there. Now, you see, there might be a little problem here. Oh, no. See how templates work? There's the rest of the template class. Template last modified. This row over here is last modified date, June 27, 2018. What's in that template? Brand new form, the latest form. Because the template always goes and gets the latest form. If I put in my templates, I want you to have the residential listing agreement, for instance, in a template. If they change it tonight, my template tomorrow, when I tell it, get me that form, gets the brand new form. It's that smart. This is smart software. Zip Forms is like, that's one of the best softwares I use for a web-based business CAR software, which are usually about the clunkiest crap ever. Let's have a look. And let's look at that first page. Now, I don't know what happened here. I think I said that last time too. With Zip Forms desktop and on the floppies and stuff 25 years ago, the fuel colors were yellow. Aren't your guys' fuel colors blue?
Blue.
Yeah.
No, I opened it yesterday. It was
Yellow? So it's on them. Okay, that's what I was looking for. I'm okay with it. I learned that. I did that for 15 years like that. I kind of got used to the blue. So I opened the form up and I go, I can't see it. I can't even read it. I don't know how to type it. All of a sudden, bang, it's the wrong color. I'm screwed. This morning I started to change it. And it used to be there was a little list, right? You could go to your profile, change your field, your active field color. And they had like 3 choices. Now it's one of those like color wheel things where you can just move the little cursor through the shade and go, that's a little bit too much magenta. I cannot deal with that. That is not going to happen. So yellow it is, right? Oh, I do have, why have I got an address in my template? Who knows? Oops.
When you do that, Gary, and it switches over and
Damn it.
updates it, if you have stuff typed in the original, does it just transfer it over to?
Yep. Yeah, look, anytown 123 Main Street, God knows when I put that in there, yeah. What the hell was going on here? One moment, please. Where's it not working? Are you not working? You're not working. You're not working. You're not working. Well, that works. It's just going to be, I'd rather use the arrows. California law requires, wait, what about those first 3 words? There's a mandated disclosure. They ain't beating around the bush. There are the first 3 words in 8-point bold is California law requires, with limited exceptions, because there isn't an attorney alive that would write a statement without, unless otherwise agreed, with certain exceptions, unless exempt, blah, blah, blah. You always got to build a loophole in there. A real estate broker or salesperson, collectively agent, conduct a reasonably competent, you don't even have to be very good, reasonably competent. I can't unlock the door. Okay, you just don't have to go in. And that was a good try. Never mind. A reasonably competent and diligent. So like look really hard. I don't know if you have to open doors or not. It's good. We're going to get some help here. Diligent visual inspection of reasonably and normally accessible areas of certain properties. Maybe I should open that under the city cabinet. It's reasonably accessible. Or reasonably and normally accessible areas of certain properties often for sale. There are some exemptions is the way they put that in there, but as far as you're concerned, not very many. You're virtually going to do this. I've seen agents send me an avid with vacant land. Okay, you don't have to. You don't have to do that, but you're not prohibited. It's like you got something you really want to tell the buyer, the seller, or both, and you want to put it on a form. That form's okay. Yeah. Overabundance of scrolls. Recommend target practice. Reasonably offer sale, and then disclose to the prospective purchaser material facts affecting the value or desirability of that property that the inspection reveals. So look around. If you see something that is a fact, not hearsay, Your Honor, that kind of stuff, that affects the value or desirability of that property, which means if I told the buyer that, would they have to go, wait a minute, what? And then think about what they really want to pay for it. Now, I don't know why it doesn't say negatively affects it. Like if you find something out in your disclosure and then they go, wow, that's a lot better than I thought it was, we should pay more. I guess because it never happens. The duty applies regardless of whom that agent represents. Listing agents have to do it. They don't have to use this form, but they have to do a reasonably competent, diligent visual inspection. It's the law. California law requires. So does a buyer's agent. I got to start using those terms right now. We got rid of listing agent and buyer's agent. Now we got seller's agent or whatever we used to have. Seller's agent and buyer's agent. Everybody do one. The duty applies to, this is helpful, it tells you like basically when you don't have to do it. Residential real properties containing 1 to 4 dwelling units and manufactured homes. The duty applies to a standalone detached dwelling, whether or not located in a subdivision or a planned development, or to an attached dwelling, such as a condominium, in case anybody was wondering. I don't know why we needed such schooling in this paragraph, but we're getting it. The duty also applies to a lease with an option to purchase. Interesting, right? So before you affect this lease option, you got to go in there and do an avid. And lots of stuff goes with a lease option because there's basically a purchase contract tied to a rental contract, and an option agreement is what ties them together. They're a little bit complicated, but we have all the forms for it. You just make sure you get all 3 forms in there and they all talk about each other and walk you right. Lease option to purchase, a ground lease or real property sales contract of one of those properties. California law does not require, so you're not prohibited, but you don't have to do the following. Areas that are not reasonably and normally accessible. Areas off-site. Get that question all the time. So what about the neighbor? That's off-site. You don't really have to know everything that's going on out there. Who's going to find out what's going on at the neighbors?
Another neighbor.
The buyer.
The buyer.
Who's going to tell them?
The neighbor.
The neighbor can't wait. Hey, did they tell you? First thing he says, they failed to disclose the pot guy 3 doors down,
Right.
the child molester 2 streets over, the neighbors, because I mean, if you don't think the neighbors don't know the neighborhood, and they never tell you the good stuff. It's the greatest neighborhood in the world, but be careful.
Do you actually have to,
School's terrible.
Gary? Do you have to tell them about the molester 3 doors away, or is that covered under Megan's law?
Megan's law.
Megan's law, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just double check.
the rule on that is, what was that thing in the Army? Don't ask, don't tell.
You gotta
Like,
sign
don't know anything. Never, ever, ever, never, ever go to that website ever. You're gonna see somebody you know. I didn't mean me. Cop said that one time at a meeting. Police were talking to the MLS and they walked in, they go, Gary's on there.
Just kidding.
He's retired now, lives in Arizona. John Allen. In case you ever got arrested by John Allen, like I probably should appeal it. All right. Areas offsite. What else? Public records or permits. Now, I don't know about that public records thing. I mean, we got the title company, all that stuff. I still profess that you should have a working knowledge of how this public records thing work. And you probably ought to have a decent working knowledge about like what needs a permit and what doesn't, kind of, but just a working knowledge. You are not required though to inspect public records or permits. You don't have to run down to the city every time somebody says something, go through the file. Common areas of planned developments, condominiums, stock cooperatives, and the like, which basically are arguably off-site. It's not in the unit. You're doing a diligent visual inspection of the unit. Because the agent's duty is limited to conduct, why am I reading you the whole form? Anybody know? Why am I looking over there? It's right here and it's easier to see. And it talks about more stuff you're not gonna do. Agent will not climb onto a roof. They do. I've seen them do it. Just don't do it. You don't have to. Like, what are you, now you're a roofer? Now, if you have on your business card, Hubbell Real Estate Group, so-and-so, blah, 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 licensed roofing contractor, now you got a problem. Let one of them go. That's what I tell everybody. You know, I tell everybody, I was in building and I know all this stuff and I'm some kind of genius and all that stuff, and I'm going to somehow tie that to my real estate career, which has those are two totally different areas of responsibility. You want to stay out of trouble, drop one. Stop telling people. You know, you can tell them, I used to build houses. I don't anymore, if that's what's going on. So you need to talk to somebody else who's in it and current and all that stuff. So you don't want to go around telling people about all this past experience you got that you're going to bring to the table. You see that in every real estate ad every time. I knew all this stuff 10 years ago, so I'm your boy. Unless you're like licensed and that current, then you gotta do everything, you know, that you know. So it can be complicated. Glad we talked about that. I think an interesting line is that one right there.
Right.
Analysis of agent disclosures. For any items disclosed as a result of agent's visual inspection or by others, like on the TDS, SPQ, God knows where, agent will not provide an analysis of or determine the cause or source of the disclosed matter. Look, dark spots on the ceiling. What do you think that is? Damn fino. I have no idea, and I'm not going to find out.
Yeah,
But I think you ought to check that out. Get somebody else.
Which one are you looking at?
The very last one they announced.
I skipped about 6 of them because it's, you know, like noon.
So how would you describe the black spot on those? Just black spot or?
Is it black?
Black fade,
Darkened area.
fake, stain, period.
Could be a stain.
Spot,
Okay.
stain.
Could be a stain.
Dark
I've
spot.
used,
Don't even say dark. Don't use adjectives that, no,
Just
don't.
stain?
Don't use
Yeah,
adjectives.
could be a
that go
stain, yeah.
overboard.
what kind of a stain?
That's all subjective.
I don't know.
Is it dark? Is it
Then
dark?
whose
Whose
opinion? Yeah.
opinion?
Darker
Yeah.
than the paint around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gray.
So what is it?
Is it
It's a
discolor?
discoloration.
It's a
That's what,
stain.
it's discolor.
Discoloration.
It's,
yeah,
we don't know if it's a stain.
yeah.
We're not too sure. How did they get there? I don't know. Maybe that's paint. Could that be a stain? Yeah, it could be a paint stain, you know. I always just put discoloration.
I use discoloration too.
Pardon me?
I wanted it to look that way. I painted it like
That's
that.
right. You
Yeah.
didn't, unless it was your house. You better not have.
It's all right.
You're going to see that too. You're going to see where there used to be discoloration. Now you got fresh paint.
Yeah.
You could say that. Seems to be fresh paint in that corner. Why isn't the rest of the room painted? Go find out, Mr. Beyer. I'm just telling you.
Agent walk into an open house I was doing, and it had some mold in the corner. Everybody knew it was there. And she goes, "Oh, you got black mold in here." I said, "No, wait, is that black mold or is that mold that's black?" I said, "There's a big difference."
Yeah, it is.
And she
Huge
goes,
difference.
"What do you mean there's a difference?" I
Huge.
said, "I've been trained for 40 years in hazmat. There's a huge difference." And
Yeah, that's why you don't name her,
turned
right?
around, walked out, and just never said a word left.
Yeah.
Cool.
Good place for
Yeah.
Remember
What do you
that.
mean? What do you mean?
There's different.
You know, black mold will kill you.
You're-
Will kill you.
Black mold will kill you.
But black mold that's black is not necessarily black mold.
You can't even tell if it's mold. Is it mold or mildew?
Yeah.
Do they mean the same
Yeah.
thing? Who the hell
Yeah.
knows? I don't even want to know.
Just-
Butch,
like
is that mold or mildew, right?
that's the
There's
best thing you
people
can
that
say.
do that, right?
And like Gary said, you can say apparent
Discoloration.
or like possible patch area on wall. Always possible or something, never like
Yeah.
state something definitively
Yeah.
as an agent, because you don't know. Could have been there when those people bought
If you
it.
know, you know, right? Front door lock broken. Okay, it's broken.
Yeah.
If you know, you know. Front door sticks, all that
Don't
kind of shit.
ever
So
speculate.
if something's not latching, I mean, like the sliding door.
Yep.
Then you
Every
know
time, every
that's
time.
not working.
Yeah. Every time, yeah. And you can even like, you know, be apologetic. I couldn't work the door.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Unable to
Because the
latch.
seller, you know who reads this and wants to talk to you right after you get through doing it is the seller. Like, the hell do you mean the blah, blah, blah? Well, I was there. I mean, you know, it didn't work when I did it. I don't know. Inspectors will do that too. They'll go, like, light switch didn't actuate any lights or something when I flipped it. That's all I know. I flipped the switch and nothing happened. That's all. I think it's great for them because it's just a little walkthrough. Like, where do you start? Entry. Where's the next one you go to? Living room. Are you going to forget a room? Not with this form, right? Walk right in there. Entry. Like, look around. Like, look up, look down. How's that go? Look at my thumb. Gee, you're dumb. Look around. You got cracks somewhere? You got cracks. You got big cracks?
No, you
Who
don't
knows?
have.
Yeah, you got a crack. There's a crack in that porch. What's that porch made of? Cement, concrete, or both? I don't know. There's a crack in it, and it's a freaking porch. That I know. That all right. I'm never going to write cracks in the concrete. They're cracks in the driveway. I don't know what the driveway's made out of. I'm not a concrete guy or a cement guy. Yeah, go easy, but don't skip stuff. You know? And I fill out virtually every line on there. Now, there's a lot of lines that are, yeah, there's actually there. I don't know if it's still in here or not. Yeah,
Yeah, fill
See
out
that?
every line. It's there.
there's an NA button.
Yeah.
That'll fill every blank you left with the two letters NA.
Really?
It's just cool,
Cool.
but it always puts too many in, so I
I
never.
know.
It like NA's living daylights out of everything. It's like, hey, oh my God, there was a field for a second name over there on page 3 NA. Oh, okay, we know there's only one person. Damn it. So there's like, how many baths you got? Like, you could have 3 on here, and with other, you could have 4, you could have 11, you know, right? So I'll go through here and I'll do
I
like, for
put
instance,
nothing noted. If I go into a room
Yeah.
and I don't see anything wrong,
Oops.
I put nothing noted.
and I always use the caps lock. I do. So there's my master, and I probably got a master bath, right? Then I got a bedroom 2, because I already used up my 1. And let's say I got a bedroom 3, and we got 2 bathrooms, and I'll put in there like bedroom 2. I'll tell them which one I decided was bedroom 2. So the master is the master, like, duh, it's the one with the bathroom. And then you kind of get out your phone if you have to. I use compass directions. I'll put bedroom 2 northeast, bedroom 3 southwest, or I guess they were just at opposite ends of the house. Bath, like master 2, 3, 2 might be in the hall, 3 might be off the kitchen. So I'll put that in there. So in case you want to know where I saw that, it's bathroom 3 off the kitchen, discoloration behind the toilet. Or like Rebecca was saying, I used to put unremarkable and people got insulted. Like, well, we thought it was kind of nice. Like,
Unremarkable.
so nothing to note, nothing noted, something like that, instead of didn't go in there. Now, if you don't have a 3rd bathroom, I'm not going to write, they don't have a 3rd bath. I'm going to skip that line. Okay. This house is defective because they don't have a 3rd half bath off the kitchen. What idiot would do that?
I've seen them where they're just describing everything inside a certain room. Kitchen has tile, has linoleum,
No.
has this, and I'm thinking.
So what-
okay,
so what goes on here?
Describe the bad
Why?
things.
So what goes on here?
If-
The agent's diligent visual inspection is to expose what?
Defects.
Bad stuff.
Bad
Yeah,
stuff.
bad
No
stuff.
things that
So nothing
materially-
noted means like
materially
everything's cool.
affect the home.
Yeah. If you think tile in the kitchen is going to make them not buy the house, you probably should write that down there. But I bet you they saw that.
And
And when they went clap, 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 when they were walking on that plastic wood floor junk.
That's not the purpose of it.
right. They probably feel obligated to
Yeah.
fill in.
to fill in, put
And they've
something-
been told by their risk management people, don't leave blanks, so they'll just go off. It's all right. Makes it harder to read, and then you got to try to find the bad stuff in the addenda that are attached to how wonderful the living room is. Yeah, you see that all the time.
Love
On the
that.
transfer disclosure statement, the agents are sucking up to the seller and they'll write right in there, beautiful, well-maintained home. Like, you only got 3 lines. What the hell are you doing? You just wasted one of them. Back in the day, we didn't have this form. We had like about 5 lines in the TDS. They're still there, right? And there's plenty of room, usually. Now, what I'll do, this is your most important form. That's probably why we're stuck on it. The rest of them, somebody else fills out all the rest of them. You got to sign them here and there, but you don't fill them. What I like to do is I'll print this.
Yeah.
I'll print those last 2 pages and I'll put them on a clipboard and I'll just walk through the house writing on it. Now, if you're me, you have to go back to the office right away and type it, because in an hour, you can't read your notes. If you have better handwriting than me, maybe you have time to get back to the office. And I go, what in the hell does that even say? So I just, instead of like walking through there and making, I've seen people do it on an iPhone or an iPad or something, you know, like just making notes. On an iPad, that'd be cool, right? Except you'd have to be a really, really good 1-finger typer. You could just fill it out while you're there. A couple other important things on this form are right on the top of page 2. Well, actually, let's go back to page 1. This is kind of important. Yeah. I always leave out the super important stuff so that you'll learn it the hard way and then never forget it. The inspection disclosure concerns residential property in the city of blah, blah, blah. All your junk out of your transaction is going to auto pop right in there. Everything's cool. And then right under those 3 lines, right over there in the corner where it says this property is a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, and this avid form is for unit number which. On a fourplex, how many avids do you do? 4, 1 for every unit. You don't get to do one and say the stoves in unit 1 and 2 were there, the stoves in units 3 and 4 were not, you know, something like that. It's just too confusing. If you have a property that has 2 houses on it, like a main house and a guest house or something, 2 avids, 1 avid per unit, not even per building, right? Per unit. If you got 4 units in one building, you do 4 avids. What if you have 5 units in one building?
Oh, is that
Different
commercial?
form.
It's a commercial property.
You don't have to do an avid. You just bounced out of that residential 1 to 4.
Exactly.
Land that is improved with 1 to 4 residential units. The 5th residential unit turns it into commercial, and now you're off the hook. You want to do 5 avids? You could. Now, any attorney in the world will tell you, okay, how big of a freaking bullseye did you want to paint on the back of that suit coat you're wearing there, boy? The attorneys will do that all the time. When they get an exempt seller, like they'll get a trust or something, and they're doing very limited disclosures. They have very limited disclosure liabilities, obligations, I guess is the word I'm struggling for. They won't let them do it. In fact, some attorneys will send you an SPQ and a TDS and all that stuff with it written right on there. Seller is a fiduciary and will not fill out this form, in case anybody wanted to know how I really felt about that. I have a ton of that stuff in my file. You don't really have to do that. You can just skip it as long as everybody understands there's an exemption. So don't forget, 3 units, 3 avids, 2 units, 2 avids, house and a guest house, 2 avids, house and a mobile home, 2 avids. House and a mobile home, how many transfer disclosure statements? 2. 2 different transfer disclosure statements, right? You got a residential transfer disclosure statement and a mobile home transfer disclosure statements. Stop ringing. Speaking of attorneys and trusts. Oh, it's Wednesday, ain't it? That guy's right on time. All right. Back, I say. Any questions on that? Thoroughly confused, totally empowered, in between.
Yeah, question for you. When's the best time for the buyer's agent to do an avid?
I like to do mine when the home inspector's there. Typically, if you're doing a
That's
home
normally when I
inspection.
do mine.
Yeah, because I'm there anyway.
You're gonna kind of hang out anyway?
Yeah, I'm there anyway, and
So what do you got to be careful of when the home inspector's there?
Yeah, going.
listening to the home inspector. Yeah, right.
Don't tell
I mean, if I hear something, I'll just write it down. He goes in there, jiggles the toilet, goes, ah, damn, toilet's loose. I'll say toilet's loose.
toilets.
I saw the guy shake it and bitch about it right after he shook it. So yeah, toilet's loose. But it's, yeah, it can start to get like,
Yeah.
okay, did you see that? Or did you just hear him say it, you know? So what would I put? The inspector says, toilet's loose. That's the other thing. I should have told you about that form. And then we'll get off that form. We'll get in the entire list of the other ones. A little bit bigger form, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if this is so everybody knows you're actually there or what. So
Yeah.
inspection performed by a real estate broker firm name. That'll all auto pop generally when it's in your transaction. Sometimes not. Sometimes avids get confused and they don't know who's doing the avid. They're like, wait, help me out here. So if this was in a transaction and you, on page 1, if you hit the drop down, your company will be there. It will show up. Inspection date and time. If I remember right, that's 2 different. Yep. See how that goes. Yeah. All my drop downs. I could do an inspection anytime you want. That's right. Weather conditions. Are good. Look at your phone. No, look up. Is it cloudy? Is it hazy? Now you got to render an opinion. Is it nice? It's kind of sunny. So the critical one, I think, is other persons present. You know who I really like to be there when I'm there? No one. Nobody. If nobody's there, put nobody. The home inspector's there, put the home inspector. If the buyers are following you around, looking over your shoulder, put the buyers. I mean, say in that little recital right there, what happened when you got there and what you were doing.
I'd have to tell them to stay in the other room.
Well, as soon as you bump into them a couple times, like, can you guys just light something?
They'll be picking every step on the wall. Gotta get straight.
Come on now. Seriously, why is it at the bottom?
Now, especially if the inspector is there and they're giving a lecture, you stay there 3 hours. That's how long I did. And I said, you know what I mean? After I did mine. Because they were detailing, the inspector was telling the buyers, oh, yeah, you need to do this and you check this. You have to be aware of this and that and that. And I was like,
That's a
what?
good inspector.
Yeah, well, that's the wrap up, right? So when the buyers go, when should I go there? I always tell them, don't follow him around.
No,
You're
don't.
just he's gonna have to
That's half
stop
hour.
everything to explain
Half hour.
everything to you, and now he's lost his focus. You have ruined your inspection. Do not follow the inspector around. All the inspectors will go, nah, tell them it's not a problem, because they're just trying to earn the $500 they just charged that guy on site in cash. I always tell them, like, depending on how big the house is, if I think that inspection is going to take 2.5 hours and it's going to start at 11, I always tell them, I'll keep you posted, but I'd say show up there about 12:30 or 1 for the wrap up. Yeah, no sense having them distract the guy for the whole 2 hours of when he's running the dishwasher and all that stuff. Will they turn something on and forget it? Was somebody following around? Oh, hell yes. Yep. That's what I think. You know, if you want to, leave it up to the home inspector. You want these guys following you around or not? Some of them will tell you, like, not really. Have them show up later. Like on that house, I've been in that track a million times. It's going to take me about 2 hours. Tell them to show up 2 hours after I start, and I'll sit down with them because my report's done. I'll just hit the highlights with them and collect my money. Buyer's going to have to show up eventually for most of those guys because most of them want their money that day on site, which I wish we could do that. It's like, okay, so Mr. Buyer, Mr. Sign here. Okay, Mr. Seller, sign here. Okay. We're going to open escrow in a minute, but I really like my $25,000. They got to figure it. Attorneys got to figure it out. Bill by the hour, like their $25,000 comes in chunk, like once a week. Oh, well, you'll be fine. Now, I think the transfer disclosure statement now, when you try to look at it in the forums, they ruined it with all this like electronic crap. I can't even read the dang thing now. So I have to print it to read it. Yeah, there it is. So This is what's a word I always use for those when they're legally mandated, required, and the state of California is in charge of the language. That form is, here's your keyword code, it's codified. There is civil code where the text of this form is in the civil code. CAR can't change it. We have to like petition the state if we need a change. And the committee works with whoever the hell does it at the state. And they change the form every once in a while. Legally mandated, in most transactions, codified form. It even talks about Civil Code section 1102 there, which is where all this junk came out, 1102 et sec, like A, B, C, D. There's probably Z by now, right? Oops, go up a little bit there. Substituted disclosures, following disclosures and other disclosures required by law, including the NHD, blah, 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 have or will be made in connection with this real estate transfer intended to satisfy the obligations on this form where the subject matter is the same. And you might have other stuff. You might have a pest report or something like that. Inspection reports completed pursuant to this contract of sale or receipt for deposit, additional inspection report. That's how old this form is. It says receipt for deposit. We quit using that in the 90s. Additional inspection reports or disclosures. That's where your pest report, all that junk would go there. Hand them a bunch of reports, you just list it on there. When do you have to give them like the old home inspection or pest inspection or something like that?
Within the discovery period of 17 days.
Yeah, so the seller's got to do everything by default within 7 days. You got to do all this stuff in 7 days. I usually just stretch that out. I'll at least give them another weekend. But you only have to give that stuff to them, kind of like your Avid, if it's got bad stuff on it. Now you want to brag, you got a like stellar home inspection. Yeah, you might want to turn them on to that. It's like home inspector actually just stamps like perfect right on page 1. You know, yeah, you might want to give them that. But the law says you have to disclose material defects that will affect the desirability of the property. If you got a report with no defects, you don't really have to fork it over. Are you wondering? When in doubt, disclose, kick down. And the seller always has per the contract, every inspection that's ever been done on the property, even if they've been in 3 escrows, the buyer owes them copies of everything they do. So the seller could wind up after 3 failed escrows with a stack of crap like that. And that makes it easy on the seller. Hey, we got nothing to hide. Here, you're number 4. Knock yourself out. Seller discloses the following information with the knowledge that even though this is not a warranty, because people ask you, do we have to fix this crap? We're going to tell them that we have all these things and some of them aren't working. Like, what happened to us right here? Nothing. It's a disclosure. No way around it. State of California says you have to tell people like what's in that property and does it work? You have to fix it? No, you don't have to fix anything. Might lose your buyer over it, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Seller authorizes any agent representing any principal to provide a copy of the statement to any person or entity in connection with any actual or anticipated sale of the property. Could be an appraiser. Stop. Who else could it be? An appraiser, I don't know, attorney, home inspector. Home inspector might want the TDS. And you're authorized right there, or the seller did. Be good if they knew that. You're authorized to hand this thing out. This little list used to be terrible because it was printed in columns, but read across. And I think now it's columns. Yeah. See where it says gas supply, and under that it says utility bulb. So there's gas supply, like what kind? It used to be like gas supply, utilities. So halfway down there, people go, what are they talking about here? No, that's for the gas supply. Read across. Yeah. They're columns. You don't read them across. 35 years later, the state goes, oh, yeah, right, sorry. We were busy. There's a lot of stuff in here that sellers are going to know that you're not necessarily going to know. And that's part of the reason they got to fill this out. And then you have to do a diligent visual inspection. Are there, to the best of sellers' knowledge, like what if they live in Minnesota?
They did.
Right? It could happen. Do they know? Like, nah. It's like, what? Tell me what you know. I don't know any of that crap. In fact, I don't even remember what's in that stupid house. What are you doing? Do your best. Best of your knowledge. Don't make crap up. But if you know something, best of your knowledge, say it. That's all you got to do. Are you aware of any significant defects, malfunctions in any of the following? One guy put in there that he didn't like the location of the main water service that came in. He was annoyed. And I said, okay, is that a defect or a malfunction? Like, are you just annoyed?
What about if a property is sold, let's say 2 years ago or a year ago, and things were disclosed from a seller that lived there and knew the property, and then someone bought it, they didn't live there, they didn't know anything, and then that newest seller has to fill this out.
Yep, best of your knowledge.
If
Don't
it
go
was
get the old one.
disclosed to them,
And
and
they'd
they
be like, I didn't
Well,
live
they
there.
knew everything that was on the other disclosure. I mean, that's a slam dunk. In fact, every agent in the office where that disclosure was generated is, and I forgot what that's called, ostensible knowledge or something like that. You all know everything in every form that happens here, which of course never happens and is impossible. So someday we'll get that changed. But when one agent at Hubbell's got a listing and then it expires or something, or for some reason it changes to another Hubbell agent, like, or let's say Heidi had a listing and Lucas sold it. And then 2 years from then, Lucas lists it because he's got the relationship with the new guy. Lucas is held liable for the ostensible knowledge of everything that Heidi knew
previous, yeah.
from those guys. So yeah, it can get a little complicated. So but keep it simple. But it is true that the seller number 2 would be held liable for the stuff seller number 1 told him. So if that's still a defect or a malfunction, seller number 2 should let you know. If it's not a defect or a malfunction, because you'll see a lot of times, a lot of disclosures, a lot of forms, a lot of reports, and a whole bunch of stuff gets fixed. I've seen sellers spend $35,000 doing repairs. Well, that stuff's all fixed now. That's no longer a malfunction or a defect. It no longer needs to be disclosed necessarily. It depends on a million things. In the SPQ, it talks about, have there been any repairs on the property lately? Well, that's where they're going to show up. But yeah, that complicates things. And that happens. People turn over property in California like they're day trading. All righty, right. Yeah, a lot of that stuff, those are broker questions. Like if I had a little company, I'd decide what to do and I'd tell everybody, but that stuff is, a lot of companies retain attorneys for that reason. I don't know, talk to Vince. I don't know. We don't know that. That's over our pay grade. Talk to Vince about this transaction. Ask him what you think we ought to do to basically protect ourselves and serve our client and protect our client. Lots of nuances. That's why, everybody and their brother's a freaking attorney and they're all making $500 an hour. It's all interpretation, all that stuff. Kind of a racket. Sellers just need to understand when they're filling all this stuff. I think you guys are using the DIA now. Why do I know that? Somebody said something about it. Disclosure Information Advisory. It's like a cheat sheet for sellers to fill out disclosures. When they debuted it, we talked about it in here. I just don't remember what year that was.
No.
Somebody got asked for it. Who the hell? Was I in escrow with somebody here? What the hell happened? How come I know that?
Something I use,
It says on the sky slope.
Yeah,
Required, right there.
there you go. That's a required form. Yeah, that's where I picked that up somewhere. DIA,
the DIA, yeah.
dead on arrival. No, DIA.
That's a
Disclosure
DOA.
Information Advisory. And it basically says, dear Mr. Seller, you're going to have to fill out you're going to kill more trees selling this house than you did building it.
Yeah.
Required by sky slope?
That's
It's
where it says-
required.
Yes, that would be, it's not required by any law, but it
But
looks
it's
like that's an
required by
in-house
us, the
requirement.
DIA.
And that's risk management, right? They're going
Right.
like, okay, seller, I helped you all I could. There's a great form that helps you do this. I didn't give it to you. Okay, that's probably why it's required, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, I gave it to you, man. Did you read it? I wasn't going to read it to you like Gary does every week. So a lot of this stuff, though, here's my DIA in a nutshell. Find out what the question is, right? So you see there on whatever the hell number of stuff I'm on, and probably on Roman numeral 2C, are you, seller, aware of any of the following? Like, I don't care if it's there or not. Do you know it's there? If you don't know it's there, don't make crap up. Just say, well, how do you say I don't know?
Check no.
Check no. Are you aware? No. It doesn't say, is this there? It
doesn't say
says,
go out
do you
and
know
find
about it?
out. It
And there are
says,
some forms that
"I don't
actually
know."
say, I don't know, doesn't apply. The earthquake report, I think, has
Right.
like 5 check boxes. Maybe, probably, could be, I don't know. All right. And almost all these forms have these little boxes down there. If the answer to any of these questions above is yes, and the SPQ, it's like about every 4th or 5th question. Explain yourself. Tell me what happened. Any common area, facilities such as pools, tennis courts, walkways, or other areas co-undivided interest with others, check yes, then tell them what it is. So they're not looking around the grounds for the pool, tennis court, walkway, and other areas. Like it's a pool. We don't have a tennis court, whatever. That's the most commonly missed seller signature right there. Who in the hell signs at the top of the page? That's basically the signature line for the bottom of page 2.
Yeah.
And as page 2 grows, it just like a document, like it just went to the top of the next page. They miss it all the time, just so you know. Agent inspection disclosures. So now we're going to finally get to Dave's question about when does the buyer's agent do the inspection disclosure. Guess I'll be returning a crap ton of calls eventually. Oops. That looks the same. Why do they do that? Agent's inspection disclosure. To be completed only if the seller is represented by an agent in this transaction. Great piece of government parenthetical phrasing there. It's like, no, wait. Oh, you have to go get an agent to do this and you didn't have one? Like, who's even thinking that? The undersigned, broker representing the seller. So seller's agent first, buyer's agent right below that. Different requirements, right? A lot more bold print up there.
Yeah.
The undersigned, based on the above inquiry of the sellers, that means you read the TDS and maybe you even asked them about it. You asked them to analyze it for you. You're not going to analyze it for somebody else. Based on the above inquiry of the sellers as to the condition of the property and based on, also on a reasonably competent, diligent visual inspection. Try hard, but not real hard, like reasonably. Of the accessible areas of the property in conjunction with that inquiry states the following. You might as well check that box in your templates, right? Because you're always going to do an AVID. See attached agent visual inspection disclosure AVID form. Or the worst box ever left for an agent in America, agent notes no items for disclosure. Not one, not nothing, not know-how. Like what? What a great house. 0 defects. I stake my career on it. Because I'm an agent and I like know stuff. Drinking, I know shit. Or agent notes the following items. There's what we used to do. We had like 4 lines. Almost every one I ever did had something written on those 4 lines between 3 asterisks on each side that said see addendum. We were making up our own AVIDs. Thank you, CAR, for the walkthrough cheat sheet. So awesome.
So
Everybody always puts stuff in there like cracks in the driveway. May do it on the driveway. I know they're cracked. So the buyer's agent, right down below that, the undersigned based on reasonably competent, diligent visual inspection and nothing else, didn't even read the TDS, or they weren't obligated to by the form, right? States the following, same 3 choices. Like best I can do, nothing, and then least I could do without doing nothing. Like good for you. And apparently they were represented by other broker realty. Lots of places to sign there. Seller's got to sign like, I don't know, what is it, 3 or 4 times on this stupid thing, twice on this page. Everybody misses it all the time. Lots of exemptions. Some of the main exemptions are REOs. So that's, you guys haven't done that yet, most of you.
yeah.
Yeah, some of you.
What REOs?
You have, yeah.
I escaped that too
Did
because I
ya?
was working for builders, new builds.
So what's an REO? We might as well just have that talk for a second.
Real estate owned, like foreclosed property.
That's exactly what it is. That's real estate owned. And the owner of that real estate owned came into ownership how?
Default.
By default.
Foreclosing.
Foreclosed.
They didn't buy an REO property. It's not a foreclosure anymore once it changes hands. Those flip guys, they have to do all the disclosures and stuff. Maximum Properties flips all the time, and
God, I
it's
hate
like
that.
pulling teeth to get the required, they're doing the TDS now.
Oh, they have,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, I just
Oh,
looked at a
good.
deal the other day where they're
Ugh.
finally doing it. It's they're out of LA or somewhere.
They're
I forgot.
horrible to work with.
They can be a chore,
They're
but
the
hey,
worst.
represent your client, they represent theirs. You don't care what they do. You do your best. You still get paid. It's all good. Real estate owned, when you pick it up at the courthouse steps, then you got some exemptions for disclosures and stuff. Now, I don't know what they do here, but every place I've ever managed, I required a natural hazard disclosure statement every time, no matter what. The agents even had to go pay for it if nobody else would. Now, in a regular sale, the seller's contractually obligated or legally obligated to do a natural hazard disclosure statement. We cover that obligation with the natural hazard disclosure report. The statement is the answer to 6 questions, which no one knows without going to look up a bunch of crap. Thanks, Governor, who was that? Davis. It was Gray Davis did that. That's where we got that.
Oh my
that
gosh.
long ago. Like, must have had some buddies in the insurance industry, because right after that we had natural hazard disclosure reports for $100 a piece. And $10 million worth of insurance. So we cover that obligation with the natural hazard disclosure report. And where was I going with that? I don't know. Oh, and there should always be one there, I think. Whatever Sky Slope says, that's how you guys know what to do, I guess. So there are some exemptions to that, but REO properties and everything, we just always did them all the time. They're just so good. And you're still, even with an REO that's exempt from virtually every disclosure known to man, as far as they're concerned, they are exempt from every disclosure known to man. You're not, you're still doing an Abbott. So boy, did I flesh the daylights out of my Abbott with a natural hazard disclosure statement. I'm thinking, okay, Mr. Seller, you may be liable for this. I'm just going to help you out. And if I'm the buyer's agent and I can't get one from those guys, I'm going to pay for it, and I'm going to spread it around. I think they're critical. So trust, some trust, not all trust, exempt, probates, generally, and everything's like generally, like most of the time there could be an instance that I haven't heard of where they're not exempt. Lots of exempt entities from the disclosures. You're more often than not going to work with a non-exempt entity, like a regular mom and pop selling the house. They're going to do 40 pages of crap. I mean, they just have to do everything. Now the SPQ, which Maxim is my poster child for that, the transfer disclosure statement is codified and legally required. State of California requires transfer disclosure statement unless exempt. And the mobile homes have their own. It's the MHTDS. There are different questions on it because they're different, slightly different questions.
You said trust, not all trusts are exempt.
Not all trusts are exempt. Yeah, in fact, it used to be really difficult, but to tell. But they changed the law. I think it was last year, to make fewer trusts exempt. It used to be if you owned a house with your wife, lived there for 50 years, and you had a trust, you were exempt. And for years, we were telling them, okay, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They've been there 50 years, they know everything, and now they don't have to tell us? No, they still have to tell you. All sellers have to disclose material defects. I don't care who you are or what your exemptions are. If you know something, you have to tell people in California. But you didn't have to fill out the form that was incredibly helpful in telling people. So they finally changed that like last year to where those mom and pops in a trust, because everybody's using trust for estate planning. I'm in a probate deal right now, which is like, I have 2 of them, in fact, right now. I just took 2 probate listings. That just dawned on me. Like this week, like who does that? Why isn't there a trust? Well, usually there's a trust, not in these 2 cases. So we had to get the courts involved, blah, 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 do all that stuff. So virtually everything's in a trust. Well, virtually everything can't be exempt. That wasn't the intent of that legislation. It was so that the trustee in Minnesota that's never even seen grandma's house in Sisquoc doesn't have to try to fill out a whole bunch of forms with, I don't know. They just exempt them from those forms. That's who it's for. And basically now that's about the only people that are exempt. Like I used to tell my agents at Prudential, like, do you see dead people? That's the easiest way to tell whether you're exempt or not. If you've got heirs, they're probably exempt. If one of the original owners of that place is still alive, they're probably not exempt, and they still live in it. Even if they don't live in it, we used to have a lot of trouble with that. Non-owner occupied stuff is like, yeah, that's a rental. We don't have to do a TDS. Yes, you do. Who the hell told you that? No, do one. Oh, you got duplex? How many TDSs are you going to do? Two.
That probate that I just.
How many habits? Two.
The attorney said they've got to do that, you know, when they fill out that paper. And I said, they haven't been in the house in 20 years. You know, they still got to fill it out. He said, they don't, no TDS or nothing.
Oh, okay. So
Whatever you're calling.
you got an exempt seller? We have a form for that. It's a short one. Both of my probate sellers will be filling this thing out. Exempt seller disclosure for transactions where a TDS is not used. And it's got, I don't know how many questions there are, like
Not very many.
10. Not very many. It's basically the first paragraph off the SPQ is what this is. So that's the one when there's no, when you see dead people, you got an REO, they're not going to do it. They're supposed to do it. They're not going to do it. Probate, they should do it. Now, where do you find out all this stuff? Like, you don't know who's is my seller exempt? Where's the best way to find out? Because we've talked about it.
Oh,
Trust advisory is a good place to find out if you got an exempt trust, but there's a place where you can go. Yeah, attorneys sometimes go, well, you know, that old joke about why do attorneys have two hands? Well, on the one hand.
oh gosh.
Yeah. Well, in this case, Dave, but, you know, it's
No,
like,
he
hey, I'm
wasn't
not
like
about
that.
to, yeah,
This is how it is.
not going to tell you. We don't want to do any of them. We hate them all. We're attorneys. We want to go to court.
I don't.
CAR.org, right? Go to your CAR website for something other than filling in forms, and just go to the search place, because that's how I can't find anything in that website. So I just go to search and I tell it disclosure. There's a sales disclosure chart and a summary disclosure chart. And basically it's just a whole bunch of columns. One column is trust, probate, bankruptcy. Everything under there is yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Every form we have is over in the left margin, every disclosure form. And it's like, yep, yep, nope, 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 yep, yep. And every time it says yes or no there's usually a footnote number or an asterisk where you can go read about why not, in case you got to explain it to somebody, or from, you know, so it makes more sense to you, like why we're not doing it. That's the place to go. All the transaction coordinators, that's how they know. Everyone I ever worked with, they had the summary or the sales disclosure chart from CAR, and they just went down and read it and told you what you were missing by using that chart. And it's good authority for that in case somebody doesn't know what to do for sure. Like the brokers, yeah, you know what, I'm not clear on that. Just go to CAR and see what they want you to do. They're supposed to know. They got attorneys working on this stuff all the time. So where do we find out which sales are exempt from what forms and which are not? That I was just talking about.
CAR.
Yeah.
Disclosure web.
Yeah.
Search.
Yeah.
Search.
Just search disclosures
the
and
chart.
the disclosure chart
Look at the chart.
will show up. All right. What else do I want to ask you?
Who's on first?
Who's on first? What's on second? I don't know. Who's on third?
What?
Hey, before we
There was
leave-
one other question. I can't remember what the hell it was. It'll come to me at lunch. I don't know.
Before we leave, you got time?
Yep.
Show me where on CAR, where you go to find where the TCs go. You showed me once and I went back there and I couldn't find it.
So that's not really the homepage. That means I went on to the homepage and I told it, give me zip forms. Well, you know, let's just fix that. It's more like what you see when you first get there, right? Search.
What? I'm so tired of that pop-up.
Mine too. I mean,
Get
take it off.
rid of
It's been on
it.
there, what, 8 months now?
No, longer.
How easy was that?
What's that?
How easy was that? I typed in disclosure and the thing that came up was disclosure requirements. You want a little schooling? All about disclosures. You don't care about loans. We're not doing loans. Sales disclosure chart. Come on now. There you are. Go away, dude.
Little window there, huh?
Just clicking down through the pages, right? I have no idea what that does. Does anybody know? Residential 1 to 4 standard. Oh my God, yes. Hey, look, I know. Oh, look, a law one, energy use report. Good to know, right?
Oh,
Oops.
that
So,
added
and then
there.
so that's the sales disclosure chart. Then there's the summary disclosure chart, which is not going to let me see without looking in, which is why your TC has a hard time getting there. Oops. And then we'll wrap it. Come on, buddy.
Rid of those pop-ups.
Yeah, too bad that crap's on there, right?
I know.
So if you could see the rest of it, that would be
anything.
like incredible, but it's like subject, disclosure trigger, disclosure requirement, brief summary. This is like going to school on disclosures. Advisability of title insurance. When do you have to do that? Agency disclosure, agency confirmation. Bing, 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 bing. Summary chart is a great one to go like learn more about it.
Summary
Sales chart is like the down and dirty one to find out what am I doing right now. I'm in a hurry. I got to get some stuff done. REO disclosure chart. Everybody's got one. It did say that, didn't it? Might get up there. Well, hopefully that's the REO. Oh yeah, it says it in there somewhere. Required. Yeah, there you are. Agent's duty to visually inspect and disclose required. You're never not going to see required in there until you get into commercial deals or something. So there you have it. Any questions on any of that folderol? It's time to take a breath.
Just that TC page.
That was it.
Or wasn't it, where's the one that you showed up there that shows you what to put in, like for a listing? Besides your RLA, you've got this, you've got that, all this down the line. Was there something you said that, something
Our
in there?
sky
This is
slope is,
about, it wasn't Sky Slope, it was about 6 months ago. I
That's
can't
an
remember
excellent
what it was.
question.
6 months ago.
No, I just can't remember what it was.
You got me. I don't know. I don't know if there's
I don't-
anything
I
up
don't
there that
use that
says, here's how
little
you
thing.
make
go
a
up,
form.
go up to the
I don't
top
use
there.
that- I don't
It
use
says
that little
Explore
thing.
Transaction Center. Oh.
It'll give you 50 things for one, that little thing up there is just ridiculous.
Oh,
What does it
Forms
say?
tutor and Forms advisor.
Yeah,
Puta,
I don't-
that took
yeah,
a
not
minute.
that, I don't use that. That's, to me, it's just ridiculous.
Forms tutor's okay if they would ever update it. You open a
Yeah.
form, there's a bunch of little question
I
mark
know. and
icons on it. You click one and it gives you the 2009 description of the 2010 form. It's like, dude.
Anyway, my question on the audit is this. I did my audit, I tried to do my audit before the home inspection, and this is the only reason why.
Oh yeah, I
When
forgot
go
about
in and
that.
I look,
Class
I always-
dismissed. Hang around if you want.
I always look into the sink to see if there's water from the garbage disposal, because those are